next to Robert Alton Harris at 6:39 p.m.
We had our last meal together. I ate with him. We had our last meal. And I read the Bible to him, and we had prayer. And he paced the floor a lot. He just kind of walked back and forth. There was no bunk in there. They had a mattress in the floor, and it was just rolled up. He rolled it up to make a seat out of it. And when he wanted to sit, when he'd get tired, he would just sit on the rolled up mattress.
The warden's wife had this wonderful, wonderful dinner prepared for all the guests that were there that night. And they took very good care of us and provided us with lots of food, and very congenial. We had food everywhere we went. They made sure that we were comfortable.
Sweat's pouring down, man. I'm about ready to collapse, and my heart's being, oh no, I'm going to have a heart attack. You know, I stop and, you know, I just look up and say, oh God, why are you doing this? You know, so I know that I don't want to see this, but I have to be there for my brother. I really did. You know, I'm just crying. I could die. You know? I felt, if you could just feel the pain and the feel of that. I'm going to let him down.
The other official witnesses were more a collection of retired peace officers who had what I sort of call the macho talk. They walk the walk and they talk the talk, and they try to impress you with their toughness. To me, that was a very thin veneer that didn't express any toughness, but rather was a very thinly veiled attempt to cover up weakness.
They tell me level 2, tell me level 3. Now this guy tells me level 4, because I've asked myself, can I be on level 4? No, you can't be there. So this guy tells me, you're on level 4. So we drive up there. I'm looking at the clock. It's, getting late, past 9. Oh, no, this is going to be horrible. So we pull up, look, and right there's the car.
Live, this is the 10 o'clock news on Channel 2. The #1 primetime newscast in the country.
Good evening. I'm Elaine Corral.
And I'm Dennis Richmond. Robert Alton Harris is at this moment in a death cell watch a few feet away from San Quentin's gas chamber. But less than 2 hours before his scheduled 12:01 execution time, it's still not certain if California will carry out its first execution in a quarter century. About 3 hours ago, death penalty opponents outside San Quentin heard the news.
We were searched in a shed, in a room where we could be taken individually and searched, patted down and felt up. We were taken then by a prison van through the back way. I'd never been into this part of the prison before. And they took us into an office room. We asked for a television or a radio. We were told no, we would have no television or radio.
We were uncomfortable talking to each other at first because the guards were there. We didn't know them. The guards were all strangers to us. They didn't appear to be comfortable with us either. Obviously this was not something they had ever done before, and I don't think they were real sure of what they were supposed to be doing. And so they looked at us uneasily, and we looked back at them in the same way.
We could also hear from this room the sounds of party, and I can't describe it any other way. Laughter. We had seen a truck, what do you call it, a catering truck, which had delivered food, which I learned later was to the warden's house, where another group of the witnesses, those attached to the victims, and other important people were entertained. But we didn't know that then, but we did know something was going on that was lighthearted.
I happened to be sitting across from the guard who was sort of in charge, and the phone rang. It was an old phone, and it had a real loud ring on it.
And we all jumped. It was this clanging old bell, not a princess telephone. And he grabbed it and gave one-word answers. Uh-huh. Yes. Okay. That's it. Nothing. And we'd say, you know, what? And there'd be silence.
There was no fear there. There was no fear. It was if he had accepted what was going to happen. And I thought I was there to boost his morale, to support him, to keep his emotions in shape by giving the little hand signals and so forth. But it wasn't long until the tide kind of turned. He was supporting me, and I think I needed his support as much, maybe more, than he did mine.
Coming up to the prison, you can see all the giant video trucks and satellite discs, everything. It looked like a circus or a fair that was going on. Traffic all over, traffic, being diverted. So I pull all the way around, and I pull up. And this officer, he comes out, this traffic guard, and he goes, "What do you want?" I said, "I'm a witness." And I could look up at his face, and it just seemed like it changed. He just looks at me, and you could just see like the shock or something that played across his face, and he says, "You are to report up there."
These guys come in and say, "Randall Harris?" And he said, "Yeah." In the same kind of spirit of, what's going on. He said, "Come with us."
I really thought that they were going to counsel me or give me some type of supportive talking to, because, well, this is my type of job too, so I would only assume that, this was what they were going to do. So, all right, so I get up and I kind of follow him outside, and we walk up, and we're going up this long stairwell, and I look back, and there's two guards behind me and two in front of me with Martinez, and something's not right.
We want to give you now a look at what the gas chamber area at San Quentin looks like. To the right of the chamber is the lever to activate the cyanide crystals. About 50 people will be allowed to watch the execution from the witness area that is directly behind the chamber.
"Hey, we heard that you are going to cause trouble," and he pointing at me. I said, I'm not causing no problem. I'm here for one thing, and that's for my brother. He goes, "We hear you're going to cause problems." I said, where did you hear this? And he goes, "It's a reliable witness." I said, "Who?" But they went, and he goes, "We don't have to tell you nothing. You take and you strip so we can search you now, or you're leaving." So I had to. I had to take and strip down completely naked. And they took and did what is called a cavity search, a body search. So that's where you bend over, they look up your anal region, you lift up your scrotum sac, and they check underneath your penis and around your balls, through your mouth, in your ears, through your hair.
3:40 π.Μ., 20 λεπτά πριν από την εκτέλεση. Ο διευθυντής των φυλακών φτάνει στο θάλαμο αερίων μαζί με 2 γιατρούς. Ο διευθυντής έχει σύντομη συνομιλία με τον κατάδικο.
He made a request for his last words. And he said, "Warden, make sure you get them right." He says, "Write them down on a piece of paper." So I grabbed a piece of paper. An officer gave me a piece of paper, and I got my pen out, and I wrote down what he told me,
Inmate Harris was asked by me directly if he wished to make any last statements. He chose to make a last statement. I'll read to you his last statement. Inmate Harris's last statement was the following: "You can be a king or a street sweeper, but everybody dances with the Grim Reaper."
The execution was planned for right after midnight, but they kept, the ACLU kept filing appeals, and those appeals, each one of them had to be answered, and consequently this went on just all night long.
No one wants to execute an innocent person, but there's got to be some parameters, some rules. How many times you appeal it? 1, 2, 3, whatever. State the amount of appeals by law and then do it.
It was a waiting game. It was a waiting game. We could not leave. But finally they came and gathered us all up and said, it's time. And this was a few minutes before 4. And they led us into the witness chamber. They told us just where to stand. And I was as prepared as possible ever to see this man die.
Well, and then what we thought was to be the final call came. That is to say, at one point the phone rang.
I watched the guard. Didn't say anything, just sort of mumbled yes or uh-huh or okay or something. But I watched his face, the muscles in his face sort of changed. And
all right, this is it. Everybody up. Follow me. And there was no more ceremony than that. And we walked out into the dark night and very cold. And then a process takes over where even though part of your brain is still saying this isn't going to happen, you're in it. You're in the very thing you're saying isn't going to happen.
3:45 π.μ, 15 λεπτά πριν την εκτέλεση. Μετά από προφορική παραγγελία του Διευθυντή των Φυλακών, ο υπεύθυνος αξιωματικός για το θάλαμο αερίων ανοίγει το κελί του κρατούμενου και του ζητά να βγάλει τα ρούχα του, ακόμα και τις κάλτσες του. Ένας από τους φύλακες βάρδιας φέρνει στο κελί ένα καινούριο παντελόνι τζιν και ένα φανελάκι. Ο θανατοποιητής είναι πλέον έτοιμος να μπει στο θάλαμο αερίων.
I knew what it looked like. I knew where it was. I knew how it felt to be there. Empty. I didn't know how it felt to be there with someone who was going to die.
You get just an ominous feeling of dread just coursed through me like, this is it.
I'd seen pictures of the gas chamber, but this was the first time I'd seen it in the flesh, so to speak, and it surprised me. It was like seeing a famous tourist attraction, much like the Matterhorn at Disneyland or something of that ilk, although it's certainly something that was put to a more serious purpose.
It was like an echo chamber. You could hear echoing sounds. You could hear water dripping. It was very eerie because we knew what we were going to see in a few moments.
He asked me if he could walk into the gas chamber and he didn't want none of my officers to touch him. And I told him that that would be okay, but he had to understand that he was going to go into the gas chamber.
3:55 π.μ, 5 λεπτά πριν την εκτέλεση. Μετά από προφορική εντολή του Διευθυντή των Φυλακών, ο υπεύθυνος αξιωματικός για το θάλαμο αερίων οδηγεί τον κατάδικο μέσα στο θάλαμο.
You could hear a door in the back opening, and here came Robert, and it got really silent, and everybody just went, and it got really quiet.
By virtue of why we were there, you would have expected to see something insidious looking, a monster kind of person. But he wasn't. He came in very peacefully, and he was very neat and tidy, and every hair was in place. And he looked very peaceful, and he had almost a warm and friendly and consoling attitude towards the guards that escorted him in.
He seemed to be conversing with them, and they were talking to him as well. It seemed to be perfectly, almost friendly, and it made it even more bizarre.
Well, he came in and he had that smirky smile. The guards brought him in, 2 strapped him down, and then I believe there was a 3rd guard. He checked everything. And he kind of looked around.
He's smiling like he's really cool, and he's showing off, and he's basically bragging, just like he did when he ate their lunch. Just smiling like it's nothing wrong with what he did. He's totally a happy guy.
The sneer on his face, the total disregard of authority or authority figures, or that was just, he was just a criminal, and he acted exactly like a criminal acts.
It wasn't a smirk. I thought it was an expression that, well, I'm here and I'm at terms with you and I'm willing to get this done. I mean, perhaps he felt that a scowl would be disrespectful. I mean, how do you look when you're about to die in a planned death with 40, 50 people looking at you.